This is nice. Okay. So among the sea creatures that we can choose, we have an option of like we did the fish last time. We also have options of things like turtles or seahorses, and also one whole range of crustaceous fish. So the Nautilus is a very interesting, it's a simple form, but it has a lot of, it has very dramatic effect because it looks like such an alien-like creature with all its tentacles and a very distinct eye. But the shapes are fairly easy. And painting it can be a whole lot of fun because we don't have to paint too many different parts, but in a simple shape, we can create a very complex looking pattern. So this is one way in which if you expand this idea, you can use something like this where you have a simple form, and in order to make that look more impressive, you can add some different kinds of patterns to it and keep it I guess looking like it's fake complex, but still it can be fun to draw. Now, I'm going to use the opportunity to draw this with also pen, and maybe do a little bit of pen texture like stippling so that we can create a very dramatic looking nautilus. Let me show the picture. Okay. So this is if you just remove your eyes from the tentacles. I think the tentacles are its mouth parts or its legs, or I have very little idea about this. You have a complicated mouth-like part, and then you have a very simple shell. And I think this is like any other shell that we see, where it grows in that whole Fibonacci form. And I'll speak about that also. It's a very lovely form. And it's so mathematical. The magical part is that you find that equation in nature very easily in or very frequently also. Now, the reason I give more than one image every time is because you are able to see more detail. Like in this case, the manner in which this creature has presented itself for the photograph is much prettier because it is flat on its side. This one is 3/4, but the picture here is a lot clearer. So whenever you are looking at a picture reference, it's always a good idea to look for more than one pictures of the same item. Even if it's a flower, say it's a rose. If you have, of course, in roses, there are so many different varieties. So say you want to paint an English rose, you look for one picture, but that might not be sufficient. You might not be able to discern all the details. So get 2, 3 pictures, but look for the same species of rose, and then you have better information. And then you can just choose the one that you want to make, draw it in that form. And as far as colors or shadows, textures are concerned, you can look at the other images and draw from that and add to your picture. So never make an illustration using just one reference image. Right, so let us start with making a pencil illustration. And before we do this, I'm also going to explain the Fibonacci series. Oh, you must be familiar with that, right? The Fibonacci numbers. Yeah. So how they translate into art or into an artistic aesthetic is very interesting to note. The reason that Fibonacci numbers are important here is because this will give you a better understanding of how to draw the shell of the Nautilus. All right. Now, Fibonacci numbers are a series of progressive values in which you add a number to the previous number and get the next number. So you start with 1. You add 1 to 1, you will get 2. You add 2 to 1, you will get 3. You add 3 to 2, you will get 5. Add 5 to 3, you will get 8. So I won't put plus. It's like that. Or something. No, not this way. Excuse me. It's from here you get this. From here you get this. And you can keep doing this endlessly. All right. Now, this is a very simple idea. From here you will get 13. From here you will get 21, so on and so forth. Now let's translate this into a visual form. So start with a square of, say, x dimensions. 1 plus 1. So you add another 1 to that. This gives you 2. Now that 2 you can draw here. So it'll be literally a square again, which is 2x dimensions. Not the area, just the dimensions. Then you have if you add up these sides, you get 2 plus 1, 3. So you make a square on this side. You can also make it on this side. I'm just choosing here, which will be about this big. So somewhere here, maybe. So this side is 3x. This is 3x, this is 2x. So it is over here. And now since we are moving from 1, 2, 3, 4, the next one will come on top over here, which will be 3 plus, I think it will come on top over there. It should come here. What am I doing? X, because, yeah, it should come here. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, just give me a second. You're supposed to do this. And then it progresses over here. So 3 plus 2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5x. 5 plus 3 is 8, which will come here. So 8x. And if you draw a line across the corners, you will start getting ever expanding line. Here it will be 13. And so on. I will go over this sequence one more time, but essentially I'm just putting these blocks next to each other. And I get this line. Now this is just a straight line. But if you were to convert this into a curve, then you see that this becomes a continuous curve starting from the center and very smoothly progressing outward. And if we now look at the shell of the Nautilus, you can notice that this is the structure from where, if I expand this a little further, this will be part of the next line. I can make literally the shell of the Nautilus over here with its eye here, its mouth part somewhere over here, and build the drawing of the Nautilus exactly in this. So this part of the shell, which otherwise we would make very pretty ad hoc, actually can be constructed very mathematically. Normally we anyway make a grid and we try to figure out how the grid works. Here we are using a mathematical grid that exists in order to create the shape of the shell, which is how shells grow. And then on that, we are drawing the picture of our reference image. Okay, so have you understood this part? Great. So we won't make a very large picture. I want us to make a small image. Maybe we can make it up here. I don't have, I mean, now I've used up this space to explain the Fibonacci. So I would make one rough sketch over here. Or you can make it over here or a small sketch here. And then we make a larger picture over here, which we can paint. Okay. So now if you've understood this, we can do a similar such structure. And I would like you to, just for a lark, try and draw it in pen. So 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. At least this part from 5, 8, and 13, this one we need for the body of the Nautilus, the shell. Maybe not 3, 2, and 1. Draw the basic shape. And I will show you how you can illustrate this in ink also. Now, Jasmine and Vijaya, are you comfortable drawing this since you are new?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, if you have any issues, because with pen, it might be a little difficult for you. But if you have any issues, let me know so that I can just identify what problems you might have, if at all, and I can help you through that. Okay.
Which pen do we use out of the ones that you said?
Yeah. So do you have a 0.2?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll use a 0.2.
Aditi, can you send me the pictures?
Oh dear. Okay. Of course. Sorry, I forgot.
I don't have the 0.2. I have the 0.8 in gold.
Oh, okay. You don't have a micron tip pen at all, Jasmine?
No, I don't
Okay.
have that.
All right,
So
never mind. Do
should I
you
use?
any ball pen or something?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Just use a ball pen. Now, when we are making this illustration in pen, obviously the pen line is going to be the final line. No, let me do it the other way around. The reason I want you to draw in pen is because I want you to be comfortable with making a very sketchy looking image of something like this. It could be anything. It could be this, it could be flowers, or it could be urban sketching, on which then you can just slap some color and do almost a color study. So I'll explain how that works. I'm not spending too much time on drawing this. I'm drawing very loose lines, so I'm holding the pen really far away. If you are in the habit of holding your tools very close and drawing lines, you get very little control over the line, especially the long span lines. So I want you to practice holding the pen far away and drawing lines very freely. So just look at this. A few things to note when you are drawing. Make sure that your hand is resting, and whether it's resting on paper or the table. And when you have to draw really long lines, let your whole hand go along with the line. If you try to make a long line just like how we write, then you will be stopped somewhere, just because obviously you don't have enough room or enough flexibility to take your line further. Now, these are things that I notice in students when I see them in person. And I notice that many people are not able to draw very free lines. So it's very easy for me to tell you that, no, just draw your line freely, just let it flow. And you don't know any better, because it's not, it's like, now I've joined an online yoga class. Okay, and this one chap, he's such a rubber band. He doesn't, he can do anything. He can put any limb anywhere and twist anyhow. So when he looks at us, our videos on, and he's looking at us, and he just says, come on, you can do it. Just push your limbs, just touch your feet. And what he means is touch my feet from the back of my head, touch my head to the back of my feet. And I mean, he's sweet and all, but he said, see, I can do it, you can do it. It doesn't work like that. But, and it's the same thing with drawing. Unfortunately, the only thing is you don't have to wildly stretch your body like a rubber band to get these tricks. It's literally two things. One is knowing how to hold your tools when drawing. And second is, when you do it often enough, your muscles do become more steady. This is a new task for you, for most beginners, to hold the pen far away and draw a line. You're not sure whether your line is even going to go. So I could probably make this line in one shot. It may or may not look good, but the confidence of the line will make it work for me. But in your case, when you start making this line, because the muscles are not strong, you could probably make half this shape, and then the remaining half, you're not sure. So you'll stop over here, and then you'll start doing things like that. This is what I've seen in many beginners classes. Now with a pen, I want you to, again, hold the pen far away. This goes for pencil as well. And whenever you feel that you can't make a line, it's usually because in one orientation, you can make a line well. And if you want to continue that, you change the orientation of the book. This is also something new. When we are writing, we don't change the orientation of our paper. We keep it at only one angle and write. But in this case now, I might get a better line if I turn my book around and make this shape of the Nautilus upside down. Now, this is more satisfactory than making my line this way, then stopping, and then invariably it goes in. Now, with a pen, we can do a lot of masti. we can do all sorts of shapes, and we can also make minor adjustments. So if you are unhappy with your line, like I made this hole slightly bigger, I can make it smaller. That line is not there on the Nautilus, but it serves as adding texture to my illustration. The illustration will look much more enjoyable because of these extra lines. Now, the structure of the Nautilus is fairly easy. I think all of you must have got it, right?
Yeah, drawing.
Huh. Now comes the texture bit. A novice would think that you could just make lines like that and get away with it. And yes, there's no doubt you can get away with it. It's such a unique structure that just making some radiating lines like that should do the job. But in our case, it would be good to spend a little more time on the texture. When you have a texture that has two colors, like in this case, you have a light color and you have a red. Focus on the edges of any one color and make those silhouettes. They're all just shapes. What you must avoid doing is making that shape like that, because this
Jagged.
will look very different. Yes.
So it should be a continuous line because in the image it looks jagged.
It is jagged, but it is still a continuous line. See, like this. Now I'm making the shape over here. This was that Y shape. Uske baad I made this shape. This shape is slightly wrong, but the next one has got jagged edges. I'll just make 2 or 3, not make too many jagged edges.
Not all. No.
Yeah, so you can edit that. Don't make more than necessary. And at least as far as illustrations are concerned, for something as casual as this, keep your lines also a little casual. It'll work better. We can make many of these illustrations very realistic, no doubt. But that should not be your aim as a beginner, because that's very frustrating. At this point, focus on certain things like what makes this the shell of the Nautilus look like it's rounded. It's looking rounded because the shapes along the edge are slightly curved. The line is slightly curved towards the end. See over here? I don't bring it straight down. All of them go slightly up, and then you have a shape. And here it's almost just flat. And then it goes up along the edge. Now here I've eaten up two parts of the pattern. because there was no room. So I just mixed it up. There's a very beautiful structure on this snout of the creature. There are oval shapes, which probably look like circles from the front. And there is a progression to that. There are some big circles or ovals, and then there are smaller ovals. So this is where stippling can help. Stippling is the most painful, torturous technique in pen illustration. But sadly, it is the most satisfying and invigorating when it is done. So stippling involves making a space dark or filling up a space using only dots. So you make dots that are a certain distance apart, and then you start filling in the spaces in between those dots with more dots. So there would be some overlaps. Wherever there is overlapping, wherever you find overlapping dots, obviously that part is going to look darker. And if you want a very subtle shade, then you can reduce the dots in some places, reduce the density of dots in a few places, and they start looking lighter. So I can make the dots which are much lighter. Now there is a white colored edge here, so I'm not going to go right to the edge. I'm going to distribute my shade all over like that. And these dots, depending upon the pen you use, should be made very lightly. Micron tip pen tips are very sensitive, so you don't want to press down a dot. Just touch the pen to paper, and if it is a brand new pen, it will start making these marks instantaneously. As far as the tentacles are concerned, as you can see, I have even overlapped some of the lines. I've not bothered dodging the lines and making these tentacles. Now a sketch like that serves the purpose of a study. You make it in a small scale, and in this you can test out your colors, test out the form. You can also break it apart and test out certain other ideas, like how can I make the texture on the shell by making some lines around. The lines are not very formal, they're not very finished, they're just there as placeholders. So we are going to now use this to test our colors when we paint the big Nautilus. This whole exercise of sketching it once, twice, and now making a fair third time round is how I would recommend you sketch anything going forward, whether it is fish or even that octopus. So Jasmine, the fish you made, or even the octopus you made, the first sketch is just an exploration. Imagine this as the first ships of Vasco da Gama reaching the coast of Kerala. That first ship is not going to build an empire, obviously, because it does not have the wherewithal. But that is the place where they can check. That's what exploration was all about. You would check, in your case, how you are seeing that object, how well you are able to draw that object. And after it is completely drawn, this is like a test case where you will see shapes differently. You will see how you have managed proportions, how you have managed placement of all the shapes together, and how accurately you have been able to depict it as compared to the reference image. Once that is done, you have information that is embedded. And that information becomes very useful when you make the next illustration of the same reference image. So as a beginner, if you've made your test image really good, there's always the fear that you will never be able to repeat it. So you tend to paint that first image itself. And very often it does happen that one image turns, the test image is beautiful, and the final image, something goes wrong. But we have to go through that process till we come to a point where not only your first image is very good, but you have a predictable line to make the second image or your final image. Not just second, it could be your 10th image. But you should have more confidence in your line so that you know that that last image is going to be very good also. Now, the reason for that is because no matter how experienced the artist is, the first illustration is usually the worst illustration. It's just a rule. Every new illustration that you make from the first illustration is growth, and you can put in a better effort with every progressive illustration, even if it's of the same topic. So at any stage, if there is an artist who takes a paper and says, okay, this is my final illustration and I'm going to submit it, they are not exploring their best potential by doing that. Okay, so now we are going to make a larger scale Nautilus, and that is the one we are going to paint. And the small Nautilus, we are going to paint while the washes on the large one dry, we will test out the colors in the small one, and I'll show you how to do this back and forth so that you can have a much more predictable result for your art. All right, so in this case now, here's one way you can scale it also. If you want a Nautilus that is about this large, which is about 2, maybe 5 centimeters or so, 5-6 centimeters, you have to start off with a square or a rectangle that is less than half its size. So here, if we want our Nautilus to be this big, that first square of the Fibonacci should be about this small, or rectangle. So here is our 5x, the 5x square. From here you make it 8x, and just keep making squares. You don't make rectangles. Here we already have that breakup. And you made it this large. And you just need a curve that's like this. Also remember that these Fibonacci squares that we're making are mere guidelines. Using these guidelines, because obviously we are not drawing it to scale. If we were drawing this to scale, we would get this beautiful shape, almost exactly the same. But there is a little bit of adjustment that is being made here to make sure that your illustration resembles the reference image. Another little bit of change is that the Nautilus that we are drawing is at an angle. And the second image that we have is the one where this would look more accurate. It would be slightly wider, it won't be foreshortened. So keep checking things like, if this is how round it is on top, how round is it on the side? Is it flat? Is it very long? Is it very wide? All of these things. Then when you're drawing the eye, if this is the shell, how far in, it's almost like at this section, the central section, you have some kind of muscle, and a little to the left, maybe a third of the way away, you have the mouth starting. I have a feeling that this part is called the trunk because it resembles the trunk of an elephant. For some reason, I remember this from a documentary I must have seen, but I could be wrong. Then where is the eye placed? It is not underneath this, it's not here, but it's closer to the front. So it's somewhere over here. And then based on the shape of the eye or position of the eye, you can make the edge of the shell more accurately. Now for the fair version, if you want, we can make these tentacles a little more carefully. So you get a slightly different result from this. So we don't have these tentacles merging into each other and looking transparent. And you can spend more time in drawing those tentacles. Make the entire set in pencil first. I would highly recommend this. So all the lines as accurately as you can see. In some places you see bunches of lines, but if you trace the line from its end, you know where it is heading to. So even at this point, if you don't see individual tentacles, it doesn't matter. You will see their ends. There's a big junction somewhere over here of all tentacles. When you're drawing it in pencil, go ahead and draw them through. But I'm going to translate this into pen. And at that time, I will change and maybe dodge around a few shapes to make the right shape. So when inking this final version, always start with what you see on top or in the foreground, in the front. And draw each shape only to the extent that you can see it. I can't see where this attaches, but I see that it goes into a shape like this as it comes closer to the mouth edge. What you cannot understand, if you don't know where the line is, don't draw it. Draw something else and come back to the uncertain shapes later. Are you able to do this?
Yeah, trying.
Okay. Take your timer.
We're
Yeah.
inking it, is it?
Hmm.
Okay, okay.
In some places where your line is very delicate, what I mean is that it's not a sharp line. You can also draw it with dots, and so it doesn't look like a very hard edge. Hmm.
So should I do it with a ballpoint now?
Yes, you can do it with the ball pen because we are going to uh, paint it in watercolor.
Hmm.
And ball pen ink usually is waterproof, no?
Okay. This is some kind of uni jet stream pen.
Sorry, what is it?
Just a jet stream some ball pen. But it says
You
0
want to just test it once?
with water. No?
Yeah, just make a circle or something in one corner and put some water on it with a brush and see if it lasts.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's working, right?
Yeah, it's working. It's not
Oh.
smudging at all.
Now, if you have the patience to draw something this complicated line by line and shape by shape, this is, as we proceed, going to reinforce your observation. With so many lines, it's very confusing where one line is going and how you're going to draw it, whether it is overlapping or whether it gets overlapped. And believe me, these are the skills in observation you need to strengthen if you hope to want or be able to make something like a portrait. Because these subtle lines are, after all, just lines, and they are, when these lines are put together in this form, they create the picture of a nautilus. When we are making a face, again, it is with the same kind of lines. We will be drawing a human face, say. But what we have to contend with is information exactly like that. The line that I'm drawing right now could easily be the line of somebody's cheekbones, or it could be their eyes. If I'm able to see those lines clearly in an object or an organism like this, I start to relate to lines very differently. And each little shape makes a difference. I have often seen students continue to draw without looking at the reference image. It's just a habit. You feel you've drawn it, or especially if you've drawn it once in rough, you feel that it's just the same old lines. But there's a huge difference when you start making the illustration in fair. There are so many details that you notice, which earlier you just didn't because you weren't focusing on that part so much. In this second illustration that I'm making, suddenly I'm becoming aware that each of those tentacles seem to be coming out of a very membranous part, almost like a cover. And we have that cover over here, 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 all over, which I just hadn't seen before, because the information that I wanted when I was making the first picture was very limited. And I was able to make that picture with that limited information because I wanted to convey an illusion, and I managed it. Now I'm going a little further. My commitment to the picture is a little more serious. So I am looking out for more information, and therefore I'm getting more information and even more accurate information. Wherever you are unsure about the overlap, make the two together. Now there's one over here, this tentacle coming down, and then there is this tentacle going forth beyond. So I know that this fellow comes straight down. And then we have a second one over here. And then this fellow will come down, and I will get a very convincing underlap because I have the pencil lines drawn. Now comes the turn of making that large shape. When we were making at this scale itself, it seemed to be a problem. Now here's another tip you can use. Break the shape up into at least 3 parts, but don't make lines like this. So say you can make this shape. Make it like this. Just a quarter of a circle. Turn the book around. You know where to make the next one. You can make about so much. And keep checking that you're in the right direction. Yes, you are. Now, at this point, it's very critical. Should you come from this side or should you make it continuously from the first side? I would recommend in the beginning, just continue on the path that you've taken because you can see how smoothly your line is gliding. Eventually, you'll be able to join line to line from anywhere. But in the beginning, stick to the predictable boring solution. For the eye, some places we have a sharp line. It's not a circle. So don't draw a circle. Here you have a nice sharp line and it comes down straight. But as it comes down, it starts becoming a little softer. So this is how we draw a soft line. My shape has become way bigger than it was before. Now, obviously, I will have to change the center of my eye. And don't make a straight line. You do notice that there is a fold in the membrane at one point. We're going to color this up. The line goes straight down up to that fold, and then it does this little shake. And that little line will create the illusion of a bend or a dent inside. And now at this stage, since we are making all this very accurately, we can also make the shapes on the shell much more accurately. So let's see how we can break this up. You have a distinct line that runs at maybe between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. This is the center of a clock and this is the outer edge. We have a line that goes here. Within this line, we have one L shape like this, one shape like this, and one shape like this. And in between, there are more shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just make this for you. They don't touch the center. They just come towards the center, but in the center, there's a big red patch. So I'm looking at the line of the first patch, and I see that it goes in a jagged form, pretty much horizontal and parallel to the edge of the shell at that point. The jaggedness is unpredictable. It's not like a saw. You go tuck, 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 tuck. That will look terrible. Also, it's only jagged from one side, and the other side it's fairly plain, or the jaggedness is not as pronounced. You come up almost 2/4 or 2/3 of the way, and then you draw another shape. And just look at the shape that you're making. How far does it go? What is its size? Width? Where does it come? And how does it attach back? And then leave it mid-air. Don't touch it. Don't touch it to the center because it's not needed. Are you seeing how I am able to make the design or the pattern on the shell a little more accurately when I see this line and partition a little bit? The rest of the shell, there aren't any distinct partitions like this. So you can make a line at the horizontal from here, so 3 o'clock, and a line at 6 o'clock. And see if that helps. You have, how many lines do you have? Red lines. You have one big fat red line here, one. I'm looking at it as I mean, this looks like a single line, but I am placing it to represent a double red line. So you have one here, then you have one here, both bending towards the east. Then you have one more. Then you have a line that goes towards 4 o'clock, comes up, makes a serpentine shape and goes behind and rolls upward. That's 4. And sweetly enough, the line that is next is the line that goes to 5 o'clock. And then you have 2 lines coming to 6 o'clock. Somewhere between 6 and 7 is the next line. And then you have next lines over here. So at least you have some starting point. Again, don't bring them and touch them to this.
नाही त्यातली पण गरम करून देऊ ना.
Now here, as it turns out, I am drawing only the red lines and sorry, the white sections. And I'm able to draw them as the area occupiers.
You know, on the inside towards the core, it's the white part. But as you taper towards the outside, it's like one has to draw the red part.
You're right. So what I have drawn over here are white parts. What I'm
Yeah.
drawing over here is also a white part. This is also white. This is also white.
Yeah.
Right? So we are just making an outline for the white parts. I think that's the best way to go because this looks like the pattern is white on red, not red on white, which is what we would normally assume that your starting point should be white. But I guess again that is very anthropocentric. Just because our paper is white, we think white is a starting point. It's just very practical for us. You must have come across that joke riddle: is a zebra white on black or black on white? I think that's one of those supposedly redundant riddles that people ask. But
Answer.
my what do you think? Is it white on black or black on white? Because I have a theory about that. And
I
also,
don't, I don't know. It can be solved. How
I
can it
never
be
even
solved?
thought about it.
just think about it now. Would you say a zebra is white on black or black on white?
It's white. It's black on white.
Black on white. No, we would think that you start off white and then you put
White.
black stripes on it. But how would you prove it? So there was one time I always have these puzzles in my head. I think they're constantly there because I have to figure out, and then I need proof. So my theory is that the underbelly of the zebra is white. So it must be that the stripes came on afterwards. Otherwise, it would have been a black belly and the stripes would have been white, and we would have seen that differently. But I mean, the white can also be a color. White is not the absence of color, right? White itself is also a color. So I don't know. That was my theory. In this
I was
case,
thinking because there used to be one animal, I think it's extinct now, but it was half with stripes and half also in Africa. I have to look it up what that animal was. Like a zebra only, but only half the body had stripes. So the base
I don't
color
think it's extinct. No, I've seen this.
was
What is it?
one. I can't remember.
Just if you Google all animals with stripes, I think it comes up.
Yeah, it's extinct. It's called a quagga.
What?
Quagga.
Quagga. Because I remember in South Africa about reading about it when I went there.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of another one.
Yeah,
What
I
a
know which one
beautiful.
you're thinking, but this is the one I was. So this one
Ah,
has, you see, half the body like that.
ah.
So it's still a bit odd because I get the underbelly being white is a way to look at it, but the body part is a
Body is
different color.
dark. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that's why I didn't know what the answer was.
Interesting. This one is what I was thinking of. What is this? What is this animal called? Oh, come on. I'm seeing pictures, but they did not give. Okapi. And
Ah,
okapi has got white stripes on
okay.
its butt.
Yeah,
And also its forelegs.
yes. Yeah, it's more like, for me, it's more like a deer or a cow.
Yeah.
Should we do the rest of the things, white things also with the ballpoint?
Yes, yes. We are going to complete all of these shapes.
I'm feeling very exhausted drawing this.
That does happen.
But for me, I'm not doing it like accurately, though you've been saying, but
Mhm.
there is scope for interpretation.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Do it to the best of your ability right now. It is very exhausting. I agree. But it is, again, it's an exercise. So I realize for me it is a little easier because I do this professionally and I do it day in, day out. So don't feel too bad about not wanting to do it or not completing it also. It's fine. Take a break. Just remember which one you were doing so that you can continue. Or even if you don't make something that's pretty ad hoc, doesn't matter. Oh, what have I done now? Oh, this is correct. The idea is for you to appreciate the technique. We will never get the technique in one day, but at least you know what to do. And the technique for every illustration is pretty much the same. Look at the lines that you can see, interpret them, draw them out, and literally like Lego blocks. Sometimes it's a building, sometimes it's a fish. Okay. Everyone done more or less, or either done or tired?
More or less done. I mean, we could keep drawing
Done.
these
I got
lines.
confused with the white and the red.
Aditi,
So now
can you zoom it, please? Again, enlarge it.
Yeah, I'll end that.
Yeah, I'm at the fag end of it. Thank
Okay.
you.
I think this is something that you can keep making the lines. There's so many. Can I show you mine?
Yeah, let's see.
Can
Okay,
you
one
see?
minute. Vijay, I'm gonna pin this so I can see hers.
Yeah.
Oh, not bad. This is a nice, yeah, you've done a good job. I can see the point where you got tired.
Shortcut.
Where the angle changed. Okay, let's see Ashika's. Okay, nice. Very nice. Looking good.
I got really tired here, so I just did something random.
Yeah, it's
Not as
okay.
detailed as yours.
Yeah, it's okay. I understand. Let's see Shivani's. Yeah, looking good. Very nice, Shivani. I like the lines. They're nice and loose. Shivani, would you say your line quality has improved over these couple of years?
Yeah.
Trim
And they are
lines?
telling me. I have friends who've actually, that day you did on Sunday, that this week, that one, this one.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's such a hit with my friends.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they're like, wow, we can see the improvement. So I can easily, I feel so much more confident now. I don't hesitate. When I look at these lines, I know they're not exact, but it doesn't matter.
No, but the ease, I can see the ease of the lines from the first time that you were making and to now. Very nice.
Aditi, I
Yes.
missed that Camlin session you had. Do you have a recording of that?
You know what? You can use the same link and
Okay.
they will have uploaded the recording.
Okay,
Anyway,
that
it was
was
a
such
free
a
session.
beautiful image.
It was very nice. I really enjoyed making it.
Actually, the live session, you didn't miss it, Ashika, because it was really not, the internet on their side was very bad. So we
Yeah.
could hear Aditi, but we couldn't see.
Oh.
Yeah, the
So
video
the
quality
recording
was
will
very poor.
definitely be better. Some of us just did it based on the whatever pictures we were taking.
Aditi, can you see mine?
Yes, let me see. Ah, nice. Very good. Very nice.
I think I left very little space here as
Ah.
compared to yours.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay.
It's okay. It's lying on its side.
Yeah.
I can't see the rest of it.
It's okay. Different coloring.
Mm.
Okay, so now this color, after you've done such a detailed illustration, coloring becomes a lot easier. This is, of course, a different style of coloring that we'll do. We might as well make a few ovals and spots on its snout or trunk. But keep looking at the reference image. Along the periphery, the dots are smaller. And right in the center, on the central column, the dots are slightly bigger. So when we are coloring, we know what areas to dodge. And if you have, again, the patience, you can just make a gentle line along the edge, which is not a very harsh line, but just a few dots to indicate the sharp white edge of that snout as well. Okay, let me go get the colors. Okay. Let's get rid of all the lines now. So if you have a flexible eraser, try to remove the lines by just rolling the eraser on top of the paper so that you don't bruise it much. And if the lines are dark, then just go over maybe the straight lines that you made. Some of the textural lines, if they remain in the watercolor, they're still okay. Now I'm going to be making some colors that for Jasmine and Vijaya. These might be new. So I'm going to recommend that you write those colors down. And in this kit, you should have received a color chart.
Yes.
Yeah, so keep the color chart handy because I will be calling out the colors by their names and it'll be easier for you to spot them, spot where they are if you refer to the color chart. So first thing I'm going to do is make the color of the shadow. Towards the base, you see a reddish brownish shade, which is going to become the shadow over here, and some of these areas. The reason why we do the shadow first is because we need to sweep the line across a certain area. If we do that, when we put all the other colors, we will also pull out that color into this shadow. So we are going to make this shadow by mixing a little bit of light red and burnt umber. Whenever we are mixing colors, never make one puddle of all the colors. Keep the two separate or 2 or 3 colors separate and combine them somewhere in the middle. So you have a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
You're using the 6 number brush.
I am using the 7 number brush, yes.
Can I use the 10?
Yes, you can use the 10. Make a small swatch of the color and see how it looks in once it's dried and how it looks on paper.
Aditi, what did you use? Burnt umber and?
This is light red and burnt umber. Now let me show you how I'm going to apply this. While I'm giving you these colors and making it look like, not making it look like, don't assume that these are the only colors that we can use. Now I happen to have a little bit of purple around as well. In some places you will notice, like over here, there's also a purple shade, which is also part of the shadow. These purple colors I have made using ultramarine blue, actually all three of these blues with crimson. So you can make one using ultramarine blue and crimson. And we're going to make a wash, a combination of these two colors, two shades, to make the shadows.
Ultramarine blue
And crimson.
it looks aubergine color.
Yes, correct. Okay, now I want you to see this first. I want you to see what I'm seeing. I see a shadow over here, but also a shadow over here in the central section. Just over here. Oh. This part, just a little darkness. And then it comes at the bottom. Then after that, I see a shadow over here and in this section. And then, of course, there are some shadows over here. The last shadows, I'm going to change the color, make it blue. The shadows in the tentacles, I'm going to make last. Or I'm going to reinforce. But I'll make another shadow I'll make is over here. So the brown part is going to come in 4 places. 1, 2, a little bit of purple over here, but then largely brown, and then a little bit of brown over here. So just watch me. And if you are unsure of what you're doing, keep a rough paper handy. And test out how much paint you have in your brush. So I am making a slightly watery shade like that. And I want you to see how I apply this. I will not be applying it with the tip of my brush, but I will spread it out. So I have, my brush is very loaded. I don't know if you can see it. It's very loaded. I've dipped in color and dipped in water. And I'm going to point my brush towards the edge and pull the line down like that. And as I come towards this end, I'm going to lift my brush so I get a very distinct shape. And as I'm coming up, the color is finishing in my brush. I'm just pressing my brush down so that I don't get a very sharp edge here. Now I'm just adding a little bit of water. So I get a nice shadow. Do you want to give it a shot?
This is a burnt umber or light red.
Correct. Yeah. You can also test this out over here on this one. The next one, again, a very watery shade. Make it like that. You will make an inverted C shape like this. Then take some water and just dip a little bit in water and then make a line on either side of the C shape. And you'll get a nice subtle shadow here also. The trick is to press the brush down. If you are painting like this, you will get a very sharp edge. If you press it, see how when the bristles splay, they automatically disperse the pigment in a larger area. So it's just like spreading out existing resources very thin. So you won't have, you won't get a very dark line. So what we need to use is a very watery shade of this color. It's very little water, very little pigment. So that doesn't make, but the consistency should be, yeah, the first one is very watery. Now, using the same color, we will also maybe add a little bit of light red from here. It's the same puddle, but I'm taking in a little bit of light red. And I am now making a light shadow with some water just around the eye. And then a little bit of that lavender or eggplant color underneath over here. Now, whenever I'm doing this, I am constantly looking at the reference image, and I want you to do that as well. Don't put in anything without first consulting the reference image. And a little bit of purple just at the base, like that. A few lines with into the membranes. And if you have the control on the color, you can use the same subtle color for the texture in the bottom. Now, I'm not going to insist that you do this, but I want you to see how I would do it. It's a very subtle texture that is made with just leftover paint in the brush. It's not compulsory. Don't make it if you're not confident. And a few places you can also use this color towards the ends or just one edge of these tentacles, just to add a little bit of depth. And maybe a little bit over here. We can come back to this. This was the area where I told you I'm going to paint the shadows later because it's much deeper. But we can also paint part of the shadows in the beginning and then make them darker afterwards. Now, once this is done, we can use a combination of scarlet and light red to paint the shell. Now, if I want to make it absolutely accurate, I would have made it scarlet mixing into light red as we come into the center. But I'm not going to do all that. It's too complex. So, literally section by section, with each section being joined here at the spine. You can take your time and paint each of the red sections coming straight into the center and paint all the way to the center.
This is pure scarlet.
This is scarlet and a little bit of light red. Now, again, for this, I'm using a number 7 brush, but I would leave it to you to use a brush that you're most comfortable with. And also, as you are working in smaller and smaller areas, you can change your brush to a much thinner brush. Keep your colors fairly dense and dry in this section.
Aditi, can you tell me this shade again? I missed what you
Yeah.
said.
It is scarlet
Yeah.
and light red.
Yeah.
Now, one word of caution, as you proceed, those of you who have been confused, you might have missed 1 or 2 sections, especially later when it becomes just stripes here. So, if, how do I explain this? You can make the, let me finish this section and I'll explain. Okay, now if I were to give you a simpler task and say, let's make a circle, or this is our rectangle and we have to make black stripes in it, but the stripes on the edges have to be white. Suppose I start making these lines and I don't make them in pairs. So I just make 1, 2, 3, and I just continue like that. I don't know whether they're an odd number or even number, which is going to happen over here. If it is even numbered, then you will have one result. If it's odd numbered, you will have another result. So here now I can see that I can paint it red. Then this one is also red. Then check, if I paint this, and this red, do I get a white stripe at the end? I do. But had it not been the case, suppose it was like this, it still is confusing because I have an uneven number of lines. I'll make this, then I'll make this, and then I'll make this. So maybe I should make another line that's slightly thinner and close by. So as you're proceeding, just check that in your confusion, you've not made one line which does not look like part of the red. And it's become doubly confusing because over here, the shell is red, but as you come towards the bottom, the shell is cream or white. So don't be afraid of adding a line or a section to make the illustration more complete or more accurate. How far can I go with this? Till this point? No, I can paint this part. Then I can paint this part, and I can paint this part. Yes, and this is where the stripes begin. The red becomes a stripe. So let me demonstrate. This is fine. This part is fine because all of this becomes a large red section over here as we proceed. So far, so good. Now from here, it will start becoming more of a stripe. Now I've obviously bungled up here. I've not either completed a line or something. So after this stripe, I have this stripe and I don't know what's happening. Correct? Yeah, correct. All right, so it's almost 4:15 now. Do you think you will be able to complete these during the week?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, yes.
Okay. No, you don't have any questions or doubts now, right?
No, there are plenty of doubts what one has to do.
Oh, no, if there are doubts, ask me. I can help you out.
I'll just show you what I've done, then
Okay.
can you see?
Yes, wait, let me just pin it or let me change the view so I can see better. This is nice. It's going in the right direction.
Okay, so but now the transition is going to happen, right?
Yes.
The red.
So if at one point you feel that you have no more stripes made, stop painting from the outside. Start painting the other part from the bottom up.
Okay.
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 All right. So at some point today, I'm going to finish this picture and I'll share it on the group first. And between today, tomorrow, and Sunday, I will send you the recording as well. There's a big backlog of recordings that I have to finish up. And next week, Friday, I'm out of town, so we won't have next week's class. I'm not going to have class on Friday as well as Saturday. But if you are free, if any of you are free, I will be having a class on Tuesday at 11. So if you are free and you want to join that class, please let
11
me
in the
know.
morning?
11 a.m.
I can join the Tuesday.
Then perfect. Then instead of Friday, join the Tuesday batch at 11. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know in advance so I can share the link to that class, or I'll just share it any case. Okay? All right.
So coming Tuesday is the class.
Correct. On 22nd.
22nd. Okay.
Oh, very nice, Sujaya. Very nice. I like that the colors are merging. Lots of different colors they're looking.
Okay.
So maybe why don't you all share the pictures that you've done so far? Put it on the group. I'll do the same. And then as and when we complete it, we'll put the finished picture as well.
But how do we finish this now? What about the tentacles?
The tentacles also have very light shadings of like a reddish shade, the same way that we made the shadow. So
Yeah.
use a fine brush to make the tentacles. And
Yeah.
then there is a part of the shadow that I would have liked to show you. So maybe I'll try and make a quick time video and show you how I would do this, and I'll share that on the group. So you can at least see what colors I'm making and how I'm painting that. It's a very minor thing.
So there are a lot of white areas on the snout or whatever the trunk that you called it. So we just leave the paper bare, right? We
Yes.
don't have to put any whites anywhere. Okay.
No, don't. So just dodge around those circles and paint.
Okay. Also, regarding the eye, what color is the eye here? It doesn't look jet black. Is it?
No, you can make it jet black. That keyhole-like shape, right?
Yes.
There
yes,
seems to be a little reddish tinge to it, I know.
Yes.
But you can just make it in pen with a fine
Yeah.
line. That's also fine. It's a very minor detail at the moment.
Okay. And the tentacles also have a little bit of pink, or is it just a watery red?
No,
Is
it's
it
the
pink?
same, a little bit of a
It's the same.
pink that
Yeah.
you can paint with the same colors that we've used for the body, but
Okay.
you can make it a little lighter.
Okay. And this time we didn't do a background wash
No,
to start with.
no. It's not necessary that we do the background every time.
Okay. And there is a highlight at the top of the shell. It's a lighter. We haven't done that.
No, I've omitted that as well.
All right. And why did we not do the sea turtles today?
Because Shivani and Jasmine attended the session on Saturday, during which time we did the sea turtles. So it would have been a repetition for both of them. But I will share that recording with you so you can also watch that and
Yes.
do the sea turtles. That you can do.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so I guess I will see you in 2 weeks now, 1st of September.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thanks.
No, Tuesday.
Tuesday.
During Tuesday.
Huh.
And this class will be in 1st of September. Sorry.
So please.
First, I'm actually coming to India next Saturday,
Okay.
but I'm very busy, so I'll miss that 1st September. Maybe 1st September
Okay.
I'll miss that.
Okay.
I'm back on the 3rd.
If you are you going to be able to attend on Tuesday?
Tuesday is fine.
Okay, great. Attend.
Huh.
Great. So you won't miss that class.
So just a request, please upload all the other batch videos also.
Yes,
And-
yes, I have. That's what I was saying, that there is a big backlog from Monday. I have not, actually from Saturday, I have not been able to
Yes,
upload.
yes,
So I am going to upload those tonight.
yes. Because I'm going to do that charcoal black and white fish. Definitely. You know,
Okay,
the
yeah.
charcoal pencil. It's looks very nice.
That's nice, yeah. I'll share, definitely. Okay, see you
Bye.
then. Bye everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.